Mao Zedong is often presented as a monument, fixed, absolute, and ideological. Chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, architect of revolution, author of the Little Red Book. But monuments hide complexity. To understand Mao, not as a symbol, but as a person, we must step beyond slogans and policies and examine the philosophies he lived by and the contradictions he never resolved. This is not the story of Mao the myth. It is the story of Mao the man, wrestling with ideas, power, and himself. At the core of Mao's worldview was a radical reinterpretation of Marxism. Classical Marxism placed the industrial working class, the proletariat, at the center of revolution. Mao rejected this as impractical for China, a country overwhelmingly rural. Instead, he elevated the peasantry as the true revolutionary force. This was not a minor adjustment. It was a philosophical break. Mao believed that revolutionary consciousness could be forged through struggle, not economic position. For him, ideology was not a reflection of material conditions. It was a weapon that could reshape them. This belief fed Mao's deep faith in human will. He distrusted technocrats, experts, and institutional knowledge, favoring instead mass mobilization and revolutionary enthusiasm. Mao believed that if people were ideologically correct, they could overcome material shortages and technical limits. This idea reached its extreme during the Great Leap Forward, when backyard steel furnaces and communal farming were expected to propel China into modernity. Reality proved unforgiving. The result was famine on a catastrophic scale, claiming tens of millions of lives. Yet Mao's philosophy remained largely intact. Failure was blamed not on flawed ideas, but on insufficient revolutionary spirit or sabotage by enemies. Here lies one of Mao's central contradictions. He claimed to represent the masses, yet consistently dismissed evidence from the ground when it conflicted with his vision. Reports of starvation were ignored or suppressed because they challenged the belief that correct ideology guaranteed success. Mao spoke of liberation, but demanded absolute conformity. In practice, the people existed to serve the revolution, not the other way around. Another defining element of Mao's philosophy was his obsession with contradiction itself. Influenced by dialectical materialism, Mao argued that contradiction was the engine of progress. He believed conflict between classes, ideas, and even within the Communist Party was not dangerous, but necessary. This led him to reject stability as a goal. For Mao, a society without struggle was a society already decaying. This thinking reached its peak during the Cultural Revolution. Mao, aging and politically sidelined, feared that the party was becoming bureaucratic and revisionist. His solution was not reform from within, but chaos from below. By encouraging young people to attack institutions, intellectuals, and party officials, Mao attempted to reassert revolutionary purity through destruction. Schools closed, families were torn apart, and millions were persecuted. Mao framed this as ideological cleansing. In reality, it was also a ruthless political maneuver to eliminate rivals and reclaim control. The contradiction is stark. Mao condemned hierarchy, yet ruled through a cult of personality unprecedented in scale. He warned against blind obedience, yet his words were treated as unquestionable truth. His image was omnipresent, his quotations memorized, his authority absolute. Mao criticized emperors, but governed like one, distant, revered, and unaccountable. Mao's personal life further complicates his philosophy. He preached discipline and self-sacrifice, yet lived with privilege once in power. He criticized bourgeois decadence while indulging in luxury and maintaining multiple relationships. His views on women were similarly conflicted. Mao supported gender equality in theory and implemented reforms that improved women's legal status. Yet personally, he treated women as disposable, reflecting a gap between ideological commitment and personal conduct. There was also Mao's relationship with violence. He viewed it as a legitimate and often necessary tool of historical change. "Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun," he famously said. For Mao, violence was not a tragic last resort, but a creative force. This belief allowed him to justify mass campaigns, purges, and repression as steps toward a greater future. Human cost was abstracted, transformed into statistics or ideological necessity. Compassion rarely entered the equation. Despite these contradictions, Mao was not simply cynical or insincere. He genuinely believed in perpetual revolution. He feared stagnation more than suffering, ideological impurity more than human loss. In his mind, the greatest danger was not chaos, but complacency. This belief shaped his decisions until the end of his life, even as the country he ruled struggled under their weight. Mao's legacy cannot be reduced to villain or visionary. His philosophies reshaped China, lifting it from fragmentation while inflicting immense trauma. His contradictions were not accidents. They were built into his worldview. A belief in mass empowerment coexisted with authoritarian control. A rejection of elites produced a new ruling class. A philosophy meant to liberate humanity justified widespread suffering. To look beyond the chairman is to confront an uncomfortable truth. Mao's greatest contradictions mirror those of revolutionary power itself. Ideals that promise transformation can demand obedience. Visions of equality can create hierarchy. And leaders who claim to speak for history may end up silencing the people they sought to awaken. Mao understood contradiction better than most. What he failed to understand was that some contradictions cannot be resolved through force, ideology, or will. They remain, and they define his life as much as his revolution.